Tonight is not just another night on the calendar, it is a spiritual crossroads. As the clock moves toward midnight, Deck 31 invisible contracts are being renewed or broken without most people even realizing it. What you fail to confront before this year ends will quietly step into the next one, carrying the same pain, the same patterns, and the same unseen chains. An X which reveals that soul ties are not emotional memories, they are spiritual cords that drain your peace, distort your destiny, and keep doors closed no matter how hard you pray or work. This message is a warning and an invitation, because what you choose to release tonight decides what is allowed to follow you forever. The most dangerous soul ties are not the ones you remember every day, but the ones hidden inside old emotions you never healed. These ties are formed when pain becomes familiar and when survival forces you to stay connected to what hurt you. You may think time has moved on, but spiritually, those moments are still active and still speaking on your behalf. Every unresolved emotion becomes a quiet agreement that says this pain is allowed to stay. As the year comes to a close, these emotional ties look for permission to follow you forward. If you do nothing, they assume consent and carry the same weight into your next season. Many people confuse emotional attachment with love, when in reality it is fear of letting go. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of admitting that something ended without justice. An X which reveals that emotional pain is one of the easiest energies to bind because humans revisit it often. Each time you replay the memory, the regret, or the anger, you reinforce the cord. These ties feed on unfinished conversations and imagined outcomes that never happened. As midnight approaches, they tighten because transition moments give them strength. Breaking them begins when you stop negotiating with the past and choose truth over comfort. You must understand that forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It is about releasing ownership over your future. Emotional soul ties drain clarity and block new connections, even when opportunity stands in front of you. They whisper familiar lies telling you nothing better exists, or that you are not ready yet. This is how cycles repeat year after year with different faces but the same wound. When you decide to forgive, you are not validating the pain, you are ending its authority. You are closing doors that no longer deserve access to your inner world. To break these ties, you must consciously call back the parts of yourself you left behind in those moments. Speak to your own heart and remind it that survival is no longer required. Release guilt, shame, and unspoken words that were never meant to define you. Emotional freedom comes when you stop reliving what hurt you and start reclaiming who you were before the damage. This is not weakness, it is spiritual maturity and courage. Make the decision now so nothing from your past follows you into the next year. Some soul ties are formed without words, through touch, closeness, and shared moments that felt temporary but left permanent marks. These ties are created when physical and intimate connections open doors that were never properly closed. Even after separation, the body remembers what the mind tries to silence. An X which reveals that the body is a spiritual gateway and every connection leaves an imprint. When intimacy happens without alignment, it creates cords that continue to exchange energy. As the year ends, these cords seek to remain active and follow you forward. Many people believe distance is enough to break these ties, but distance alone does nothing spiritually. You can be miles away and still feel pulled, still dream, still think thoughts that are not your own. These are signs of energetic access that was never revoked. Intimate soul ties influence emotions, choices, and even attraction patterns. They quietly guide you back to familiar pain, disguised as desire or comfort. As midnight approaches, these ties attempt to anchor themselves deeper because transition strengthens unresolved bonds. Awareness is the first step to breaking what you could not see before. These ties drain motivation, clarity, and self-control because part of your energy is constantly shared. You may feel tired without reason, distracted during prayer, or restless when trying to move forward. This is not weakness, it is division of energy. When your spirit is split, progress becomes slow and confusing. Old connections resurface at the worst times to test your resolve. The past does not return because it has power, but because access was never closed. Breaking these ties is an act of reclaiming your focus and strength. To release these connections, you must consciously take authority over your body and spirit. Declare that your energy no longer belongs to memories or moments that ended. Renounce access that was given through vulnerability and reclaim ownership of your thoughts, desires, and peace. This is not about shame, it is about alignment and freedom. When you cut these ties, you feel clarity return and emotional weight lift. Make this decision before the year ends so your next season begins whole and undivided. Words are not harmless sounds, they are spiritual agreements released into the unseen. Many soul ties are formed when you spoke from desperation, love, fear, or loneliness. You promised things you did not understand or declared limits over your own life. An X which reveals that spoken words carry direction and authority, especially when fueled by emotion. Even casual statements can become binding when repeated or believed. As the year ends, these verbal agreements look for renewal through silence or inaction. You may have said things like, "This is just how my life is," or "I will never be free from this." You may have spoken loyalty to people who were only meant for a season. Words spoken in pain often outlive the moment they were born in. They sit quietly shaping decisions, expectations, and identity. This is why some patterns repeat even after circumstances change. The words keep calling the same outcome back into your life. Vows and promises made in emotional moments create invisible contracts. They tell your future what it is allowed to give you and what it must withhold. Many people pray for change while still living under old declarations. An X which explains that the spiritual realm honors consistency, not intention. If your words say one thing and your prayers say another, confusion remains. As midnight approaches, these agreements either expire or roll forward with full force. Silence allows them to continue without resistance. Breaking these ties requires courage to confront what you once believed. You must renounce words that no longer align with who you are becoming. Speak new truth with clarity and authority over your life path. Replace old declarations with intentional statements of freedom, peace, and direction. This is not positive thinking, it is spiritual correction. Do this now, so only truth follows you into the next year. This is your moment to choose what stays and what ends. Soul ties do not break themselves, and time does not cancel what awareness ignores. What you release tonight loses its authority to follow you forward. You are not too late, and you are not powerless. Freedom begins with decision and truth spoken out loud. Close this year clean so the next one opens without chains.